I am so excited to talk to Sasha today. We are going to unpack her journey as an entrepreneur who, in the last 2 years since we started working together, has made just huge leaps and bounds in her business. I'll let her tell you about it, but she has gone from when she first started working with me in my Zero to Launch program, never having landed a client as an independent consultant, to now she just landed a dream client and a 30K contract from a cold lead. So, not only that, she's pivoted niches, she's honed in on her messaging, she started doing marketing and sales in a way that feels good and authentic, and even landed partnerships that are going to bring her qualified leads. For those who don't know me, hi, I'm Tasha. I'm the founder of Duraka Strategic and a business coach for service-based entrepreneurs. I'm here to help you get so clear and specific in your brand positioning, messaging, and marketing that you are consistently attracting the highest quality dream clients you love working with, who make you feel valued, respected, and appreciated, and build a business that lets you live your dream life. I'm going to let Sasha introduce herself. I am so proud of her. She is someone who is really committed to building a sustainable and successful business. She has actually come up through my entire ecosystem. She first did my Zero to Launch program, then she did my Premium Clients Unlocked Live VIP Accelerator, and she just finished working with me as a one-on-one private client. So, Sasha, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us what you do?
Hi, yeah. My name is Sasha Farley, and I own Sasha Farley Consulting, where I work with leaders to create a more human-centered focus for their work in this crazy age where everything is changing and we have AI coming up. I focus my work in a combination of advisory and consulting services, helping people in remote and hybrid work settings. So, how do you get more optimized in the way that you use your hybrid and remote so you get the benefits of both? If you're going to have some in-person time, how do you actually structure it so you get that benefit of people giving their time to go into the office? If you're going to be fully remote, how do you structure it so that you can still have that connection and the collaboration and the camaraderie that a lot of people feel like is missing from a remote setting? And I also facilitate virtual and in-person workshops, offsites, retreats, to kind of help balance the needs of all the different settings and also help teach leaders how to develop the skills that they need for each of the places in which they're working and the new demands of all the different people coming into the workforce.
Amazing. I love hearing that answer. That is to me so clear and so specific, and honestly, night and day from when we first started working together. I don't know if you remember back then, which was almost over 2 years ago. But I see you have so much more specificity there. Like you're clearly naming the things, you're talking about the benefits for the ideal client as you're talking about it. Do you feel the difference in how you answer that question from before?
Yeah, I definitely have a lot more clarity in where I want to be working and which pieces of it. My expertise is in organization development, which most people don't know what it means, but it's also a very broad field, which is why it's hard to define. It's basically like how people work together. Like I'm an expert on the people dynamics within groups from any dyads all the way up to nations. Like organization development, people have literally done nation building. So it's a very broad topic. So I was kind of stuck on the point of what in there do I want to do when I can do on a bunch of different topics because it's the process is the same and the people dynamics are honestly pretty similar regardless of what you're doing. So it was really hard to focus on the thing that I wanted to do that would help be specific enough to allow people to understand what it is that I do and how I can help them, while also being general enough to keep me interested because I'm the type of person where I like challenges and I like unique challenges, and it's really what drives me. And I'm really good at spotting patterns, but I like seeing new patterns, not ones I've already seen a lot. So it was really fun trying to find that balance. And so working with you is really helpful in helping me figure out where the sweet spot is and shifting on how to talk about it from what the clients get out of it and like how to frame what I do from things that clients would want instead of the process because I like the ways in which we do it. That's like where my expertise is, but frame it more towards the benefits first.
I love that. And I remember we talked about so many things related to that, right? Like we talked about, because you have so many different skills and talents and ways you could apply them and so many different services you could offer. So, really honing in on what do I actually want to do that actually lights me up? What kinds of clients do I actually want to work with? And what kind of services do I actually want to deliver was like a huge thing that we focused on. And then I also remember, like, you really struggled at sometimes with this feeling of like, oh, I'm afraid to talk about it in this one way because, what if I lose out on these other potential clients? And also just even overcoming that fear of like, how do I even talk about what I do in a way that gets me clients? Like I remember we chatted about back in the day sometimes when, you met somebody at basketball and you were like, oh, what do I even say to them about what do I do?
Yeah. No, it's very true. I think because like I like to see new things and new patterns, and I really like to kind of break the molds on things and challenge the ways in which we have always done things. I never think because that's how he's always done it is a good enough answer. I want to kind of change the systems and everything that we're doing for the betterment. One of my main drivers is creating human flourishing. So I think we're in a place as a society where we can do that if we change a lot of preconceived notions and traditional ways of doing things. And like, but talking about that is scary because it's telling a lot of people that what they know and what they're comfortable is wrong and challenging a lot of preconceived notions that is easier for people to understand. And like being a people dynamics expert, I know that when you present challenging information, you're risking, it will do two things, right? People will either be like, yes, I love that, that's so exciting. But most people are gonna like it's gonna turn them off and it puts them into like a fight or flight mode. And so that's not really the mode that someone's gonna be like, now I
Mhm.
want to work with you. And so it was really kind of scary to position myself and be really vocal about things that I know is going to turn the majority of the people listening into a mental mode that probably isn't going to lend them to want to be working with me because they're not in a really comfortable mental state. But the people where like Tasha kept reminding me that the point is if this is what really excites you, you actually do want to work with that percentage of people that it excites them because that's what you want to do. You want to change it. Like you don't want to be working. Actually, the question was, do you want to be working with the people that you have to convince that it's worthwhile, that it is a benefit? And that was a big conversation too, where it's sort of a balance, like where can I have the best impact, right? Work with people who already are bought in and understand the vision, or work with people who I have to convince of the vision. And we actually ended up, it's a combination of the two. Because to change the world, you have to change people's minds, but your whole life can't be really difficult work. It has to be some things that give you energy and are really light and energizing and exciting. And so like that was really helpful conversations that we did. I think we did that in premium clients unlocked and then a little bit in the one-on-one coaching stuff that we did as well. So
Yeah. Oh my gosh, we have had such a journey together. If you can think back to when we first started working together, if you could think back to when you first joined Zero to Launch more than 2 years ago, like where were you at in your business when you first started working together? I don't think you'd ever worked with a client as an independent consultant. And like maybe you could talk a little bit about that journey from joining Zero to Launch and then going through Premium Clients Unlocked, like what made you decide to do that? And then what made you decide to sign up for one-on-one coaching and walk through this whole journey and where you were at in your business when you started compared to where you're at now and like some of the things that have changed along the way.
yeah, so when we first started working together, I'd been working in consulting for like big companies and a mid-sized company for I don't know when I count the times for like 5 or 6 years, I think. And so like I've been doing consulting work for a while, so I knew enough that I knew I could do my own company, but like the way that they're structured, they're teams that are doing the proposals, the bidding, all that kind of stuff. And so I hadn't really worked in all parts of that. And so it was an interesting concept when trying to think about what the business is that I wanted to do. I had enough exposure of each piece, but I'd never done it all together. Um, and so that was just funny from the very beginning. Like I know I can do the work, but you can't do work as a company unless you can get the work. You can say you put the proposals and get the contracts. But I can't even have the idea of getting the contracts. I didn't know, like I said, which part of all the things I can do I wanted to focus on to even know what contracts I wanted to go after. So that's like a whole different place to where I am. So that's when I started your Zero to Launch thing, where it's helped me really define what I wanted my company to be. Like the structure that you had laid out for that was really helpful. And starting from the right place, building on it, building my confidence up. If I do know what I'm doing, where is the places where I'm an expert at? Where are the things that kind of set me apart, make me unique, and then help me build a company around that. And then it got to the point where I had started my company or was about to start my company. And needed to get to that place where I needed to do the proposals from start to finish and get the contracting myself as my own company. So start from finish, just me, not with a team, not with all these people who have lots of expertise in business development. And so Premium Clients Unlocked really helped me with that because it helped me with how to position things and how to really tailor the specific clients that I wanted. Um, and like how to define what those are and what does that mean to me, especially in the space that I'm at where I want to change the game, like how important is like profit versus the impact versus all the different balance and what is the ideal client, like what does premium mean to me. And so that was really helpful in helping me to find that. And then once I got all that place, had my own business, it was launching, and I had clients that were maintaining it. But I realized to do some of the new things that I identified that I wanted to be focusing on, and to get more new clients, I needed to market more. And I realized I wasn't very good at marketing. I was scared me. I don't, I think I was better at it than I gave myself credit for. I think when I go back in time and I look at some of my initial ones, but it scared me and it was intimidating me and I felt overwhelmed. Like even though part of the zero to launch included the marketing pieces of it, it still scared me. And so and I realized I also needed like an external accountability partner in a way to help bounce ideas off of and to help make me feel confident when I'm doing these things that are brand new to me for the first time, where I literally feel like I'm guessing, even if they're educated guesses. Um, and so that's why I ended up partnering with you for the private client stuff, because then it was helpful for whenever I was doing something brand new, just for like the accountability of I'm going to meet with you every month. And so I want to make sure I have progress and I'm not like, I didn't do anything. So like that extra accountability, but then also like the expertise that you have in how to market, how to brand. When I had these questions with different clients that came up or different setbacks or different partnership opportunities, like help figure out, is this a good idea, like for the brand that I'm trying to create? And so it was really helpful in that sense. And then at the end of it, I ended up with two partnerships, and one like signed contract basically right after we finished. And a bunch of other leads that are still in development because any business owner knows, especially consultants, the most frustrating part of consulting is the lead time is very long, which is fine. No issues, but getting used to that as well because I'm very much when I get an idea, I just want to start doing it, but it's not the way it works sometimes.
It is so amazing thinking about that whole journey and how much you and your business have grown and changed over that time, and how much your confidence has grown, and some of these tangible things, right? Like getting these new leads. What are some of the other sort of tangible things that come to mind in from when we first started working together to now? It could be in terms of, leads, new ways of doing things, some of the systems and the structure we put in place. I can think of a few examples too, but I want to hear what you're thinking of.
I think one of the biggest things that came out was actually doing like a webinar sort thing, which I was going back
Mhm.
and forth on whether I wanted to do one. Um, and like the encouragement you had and the help with thinking about how to shape it in the ways where it, because what I do is very similar to like learning and development pieces, which is just teaching, but it's also very different in a way. Like it's the Venn diagram overlaps a lot, but trying to figure out how I can do a webinar that shows the overlap and isn't just what a lot of other people do in their webinars. And so try to figure out a balance that shows what it is like to actually work with me. And so pushing for that was something that I'm going to continue doing as like throughout time, just to give some benefit because time period where people really needed the content, and it helped me feel like again I was making a positive impact in the world because it's not always about the money for me. Um, and yeah, and that ended up giving me two different partnerships and contracts and stuff out of that work. So it's helpful for that sense. So that was one thing. And then also like I think the pattern that I've set up in using social media was definitely something that came out of our work together that feels like a sustainable thing for me. Like I will never be something that can post every day because I think it's really important that while I use AI as a helping tool, I really want it to be something that I'm doing mostly, where I'm writing most of it. And that's why I cannot write content every day. I just don't like writing enough for that. And so finding what is the right balance that is sustainable, and different tips and tricks for that I think I've been able to maintain for a while since we started. So those I think are really going to be really impactful. And some of them did lead, so some of the social media stuff did lead to some of the partnerships and stuff as well, that presence. So
It's amazing. I wrote down a couple of things I was reflecting on our time together. So you correct me if I'm wrong about any of these or if you have anything to add. I put you went from being afraid to post on LinkedIn to becoming a recognized as a true thought leader, I would say, and even getting the attention of C-suite execs at billion-dollar companies.
Did happen once. Very exciting.
You went from not knowing how to attract cold leads to getting them in introducing new marketing tactics like your first webinar, which, by the way, for your very first webinar, you had a lot of signups. And I think you also had like a 50% show up rate, which used to be the norm for webinars. But like now, post COVID, like attendance is usually way down. So that is super impressive. And you even ended up scoring that like 30 to 40K contract in your new niche that you were like pivoting to. So that is really huge. I put you went from being nervous talking about what you do to landing partnerships that could get you 5 to 20K leads. I also put you found a conference where you knew your dream clients were going to be, and you decided to go. You booked yourself a ticket to Vegas, and you went and networked. And I also put we talked about this a lot, but I put focusing on the work you really want to do and the clients you really want to get. You also started like lead tracking and doing more outreach. Like you really implemented a lot of new marketing tactics to get you cold leads and convert them into clients.
Yeah, that's true. I forget. This is why it's good to work with someone who's also tracking things because you forget half the things. You're like, all right, I did do that. That's awesome.
I know we don't celebrate ourselves enough. I also want to hear about some of the intangible growth and changes you've had in your business. You know, maybe we talked a little bit about your confidence, your mindset, for example. And I wrote some down for this too, but I want to hear what you feel like has changed for you.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing over the time period is that I know the impact I want to have and can like label it like
Mhm.
the human flourishing impact and just admitting that that is my end goal is to create the space where people can flourish and to do that through increasing the effective use and use in general of fully remote and hybrid work practices in the future. Um, and then helping leaders shift the mindsets because realizing that like traditional leadership isn't going to translate, and that's where some of the struggles are. And shifting that mindset is how you can create conditions for human flourishing because you have to focus on the human, the people first, human centered, different terms are coming out for this stuff. Um, and I think that's one of like the biggest intangibles is I feel really clear on what it is. So I feel confident talking about it and talking about it in all sorts of different settings whenever it comes up. I like, instead of being like, oh, I kind of do, but like 95% of the time I say it very smoothly. Still 5% of the time I'm like, I don't know what the heck I just said, but sure, there's some words that came out of my mouth. But most of the time I'm like, I know what I said, it makes sense, and it's in line with what I want to do. I think also the confidence piece of having tools and like energy and like thought patterns to lean back on when I'm getting scared to post something,
Yeah.
or just like recognizing like that posting is important and it's okay if no one responds and it just sits there and it's a dud because people are looking at it. As long as there's impressions on it, that's all that matters because then
Yeah.
that means someone has seen it. And that sort of confidence has been helpful because before it was like if I post it and no one even responds, then are they actually seeing it? And
Yeah.
I think that confidence is going to help me a lot in the marketing realm, which isn't, I will be honest, if you haven't gotten the theme from this already, marketing is not my strong suit, but I'm getting better at it because as a business owner, you must be good at marketing. It is not optional.
I love that answer. A couple other things I wrote down to chat about. So, something we've talked about a lot is the difficulties of navigating business as a woman and a person of color. How did working with me help you with that?
Yeah, I think we had a couple sessions where we talked about the balance of it in terms
Mhm.
of especially being, I took like a marketing personality quiz once and they said I was a maverick. And when I read it, I got so excited. So I was like, I guess that's accurate. But the idea, right, of being that sort of a maverick game changer sort person as a woman that can sometimes have different assumptions labeled on top of it of what you're doing, especially because most of my work is working with leaders to help shift their mindsets and sometimes helping highlight that maybe the things that they think they are really good at aren't needed anymore in this world. And what is the dynamic of that being a woman? Um, I think we talked briefly also about being a woman and being younger, especially looking younger than I actually am, which is like wonderful. I love it, but sometimes problematic when you're in a work setting.
Totally.
Um, and so like that was definitely like a piece. And you being a woman doing this business, working with big companies and stuff, like you had experience that we were able to talk about and kind of draw on and figure out what's the balance that I wanted to do. And
Mhm.
also just like reminder of the confidence sometimes where it's like people will judge whatever they want to judge and they'll do whatever they want to do.
Mhm.
But then reminders, I guess, those people you really want to work with anyways. And the reminder is like, no, I really don't. Which is a different conversation, especially as I'm trying to get more into the startup world, which
Mhm.
has a lot more men in it and also a lot more traditional mindsets on how you run businesses, which is why I want to work there because I think it's the most place you can be the most impactful for changing and for them to be more successful because they're going to need to be. But it also introduces more of the opportunities for those challenges of being a female leader and a female consultant to leaders.
Yes, 100%. Um, what were some of the things that were hardest for you as you've grown your business, and how has maybe working with me helped shift some of those things over time? I know we've talked about, and I think this ties into what we were just talking about, like being authentic, doing the marketing, doing the outreach, like being worried about being salesy.
Yes, we had lots of conversations about me feeling salesy. I apparently hate, I'm like apparently very sensitive to anything that feels like you're selling, which is not the case for most other people, but it was an interesting balance that I need to draw for myself because I want to do things that feel good for me. So even if I am more sensitive, I don't want to put it out and feel weird because that's not the balance. So, um, lost the thread of your conversation. What was the question?
The question is, what are some of the things that were maybe really hard for you when you first started, and how has working with me maybe helped shift some of those things over time in terms of showing up as authentic and in doing the marketing and doing the sales, that kind of stuff?
Yeah. So that's where I was going. That's why I brought the salesy thing because that was the biggest thing. Yeah, I think I like doing the work. I don't really like selling the work, which is a good learning to have when I'm able to hire someone to help do the selling. That might be the thing that I do first. Um, but for now, I want to do it myself because also I think you can't define who you are. I think struggling to figure out how to sell something is the best way to define what you are and what you want to do. I'm focusing on it now, forcing myself to do it. But learning that balance, I think, was one of the biggest things for me. And I think I've struck in a pretty good balance on it in terms of sharing what the benefit is, working to be clear on the offering I'm actually offering or the thing that I actually do without feeling too quote unquote skeezy salesy or just salesy in general to me. I think that's been the biggest benefit that I've had because that is key, right? You have to sell, but how do you sell feeling okay about it? Um,
100%.
and so like that's been, and it's still a progression of a journey. I still think I swing a little bit too much away from the sales part of it. And so I'm like working my way towards wherever it hits for the, I'm not going past here, it just is what it is. Um, but it is like that thinking and understanding the balance and then figuring out the place that I want to challenge myself has been, I think, one of the biggest learnings from a business perspective.
I love that. Definitely. Whew, okay. Tell me a little bit, if you could, about your decision to join each of these programs. You talked a little bit about it before, and make these investments. Because I know the investments, especially for Premium Clients Unlocked and for one-on-one coaching, were really big and really scary. So maybe try and remember how you were feeling when you joined each of those programs and how you feel now. Like, what would you tell someone who's afraid to make that investment in themselves and their business? And do you feel like the return on the investment is worth it?
Yeah, so try to go back in time. I felt like I didn't even know where to start. And so if I didn't even know where to start, I didn't even know what to search for on YouTube, right? Because everyone's like, you can find this stuff. I'm like, great, but I don't even know what I'm supposed to be looking for. So like I don't know if I'm gonna find the thing and I won't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing that someone's sharing. Um, and so I worked with your stuff before at the zero to launch stuff, and it was clear that you knew what you were talking about and just our conversations in general around it. And so it made me feel like this is worth an investment, even if it just gets me started. Because we also started the Premium Clients Unlocked like a little bit before I felt I was ready, but I also felt like I needed it for the push to get ready to like really launch because I started a little bit before I actually launched my business. Um, so yeah, it was basically like I it's the easiest way to dive into this thing that I don't even know where to start, but I know is key for me to be successful. Like I need to know who I'm serving and what I'm serving them with and why I'm serving them. And that's a simple and complex question all at the same time. So that's why I did the premium clients unlock. And I had the money. So I was like, I can do it. It's a scary thing to spend that much money on something for like myself. I'm not going to pretend like it wasn't a terrifying thing. We went back and forth a lot on it because I was like, this is so much money. It's the biggest thing I've ever put into something. But definitely was worth it. I think a lot, helping me define what that is. And then with the one-on-one client work, I had realized from going through the premium clients program that having that regular check-in was helpful for forcing me to do things. I have ADD, which is great. So I need structure sometimes. I hate structure, but I need a little bit of structure to force my brain to just do the things. And so having that accountability was really helpful. And so after we were done the premium clients unlocked, I realized there was still pieces that I needed to do that were less structured. Like it wasn't like one topic. So none of the other offerings really worked. There was going to be a bunch of different topics all mixed together as I was fully launching my company and really trying to put effort into getting new clients at that time period. And so I figured the one-on-one client thing would give us the most flexibility for me to jump from all the different topics, while also giving me the accountability to want to make progress through it because I would want the money to be worth the investment. Like I that's a motivating spending money is a motivating factor for me. And so like that was also one of the balances. And it was definitely worthwhile in terms of helping with accountability, but then also with all these new things that came up over that, I think it was like 5 or 6 months, right? Where all those new things that came up, I didn't have to figure it out for myself. Who like helped talk me through starting points, and then I could dive more deeper. It gave me resources for the specific stuff that you already had that was diving into the topic. And then helping me think about priorities because there were a lot of things that were coming up at one time period, but I didn't feel like I had the energy to do all of them for the first time. Because we all know it takes longer to do things the first time you do them. At the same time, and help me think about which one would be most impactful from a business perspective, which was really, really helpful, in terms of learning how to balance my own energies and time, and then also challenge myself where I needed to challenge myself. So,
Mm. Thank you for sharing all of that. Oh my gosh. It's crazy to think about um, all that's happened in those couple years. Tell me a little bit about how building this business is helping you create the life that you want. And what are you so proud of yourself for and celebrating yourself for? Because I know we don't do that enough.
um, I have the flexibility that I need in my work schedule. Like I said, I have ADD, which is wonderful. It helps me be a very good consultant, to be honest. But it also means that I really struggle working a regular 9 to 5, like 40-hour-a-week job. Just my brain does not work that way. And so having this business and the structure that it is has allowed me to let my mind work when I want to work because if I don't if my brain just doesn't want to focus one day between 9 to 5, but at 6 p.m. it's on, I just let myself work there. If it's working on a Saturday, I just let myself work there. And it doesn't feel as frustrating as it used to feel when I also had to be online from 9 to 5, even when I didn't want to work. So working on the weekends actually is fine now because I'm like only working on the weekends sometimes. So I didn't work at all Thursday, Friday, right? Um, and that I think was really beneficial. Like the benefit that that has to my health, from my physical health to my mental health, is like I can't even like explain the benefit of it. And like my ability to sustain the level of work that I have is also way better than it was when I was forced into more of the structured time periods of like a typical 40-hour or consulting, sometimes more than 40-hour weeks. Um, and yeah, so I think that's like I can't say anything else. And I do want to move to different countries and live in different countries. I'm not going to be a digital nomad, but I want to move for a couple years, live in different countries. And hopefully next year I'll be set up so that I can do that. Part of what I worked with Tasha on was how to transition some of the current contracts I have that require me to be in the States to shift them so that I can start potentially delivering on the same clients that I like to continue working with because I really love some of my clients. To be able to support them even if I'm not in the United States, which is something that I also really want. And that is very exciting to think about because I've always wanted to live in other countries. So
Yeah, it really is. It's so sad to me, first of all, that so many jobs are so inflexible and so unstructured that so many people are forced to start their own business just to be able to do their work in a way that feels comfortable and okay, but the way that you are creating this business that's going to allow you so many opportunities to travel the world, like, amazing, so exciting. Um, Tell us a little bit about what it was like working with me. Would you recommend it? Who do you think can benefit from it the most? And maybe any specific, I know we talked a lot about what you learned and what's changed, but maybe anything specific that comes to mind that you haven't shared yet that's made a big difference, or maybe some of the actual things that we did through the process of, like, DMing and voice noting and having calls and reviewing proposals and reviewing posts and all that good stuff that was helpful.
Yeah, I would definitely recommend working with Tasha, especially if I refer you to a lot of people, and the typically I refer you to them when, well, I refer them to you, other way around. When they have a good idea but need more help clarifying what that idea is and then what that actually looks like in practice. Like, and then like how do you communicate that effectively to other people, right? Because you can have the best idea in the world, but you can't sell it to other people or convince other people that it's actually worthwhile. Um, and don't understand yourself enough to really define your benefit for doing that. Because there's a lot of people doing a lot of things. Very few of us are doing truly unique, not another soul in the world is doing this thing. Um, but we each have our own thing we're bringing towards it. So when someone's struggling to really define what that is, I like refer them and then also just trying to define what the benefit is of this thing that I want to do. Also, I think it's really helpful. And then it's like, depending on what stage they are in the process, it's like whether it's the zero to launch program or whether it's one of the other options that you have. I think the structure you have is really helpful to kind of meet people wherever they are at, right? Um, and so for that. And then I think the pieces that I liked the most about the structure was even in between the calls, being able to send stuff for like a quick eyes on it in between, and then the voice note things that we have. Like I think even in my friendships, I think I sleep too much on the voice note pieces of it. Like it's so much easier to get really rich conversations asynchronously, so we don't have to be in the same time zone, by just sending in voice notes on concepts back and forth. Like I think I sent you one once when like I forget, I think like a CEO of a big company like responded to one of my posts and I was like, what do I do? I want to like do this. They saw it. Like that's so cool. I just posted it because I thought it was cool. Like I don't really know what to do. What am I supposed to respond? I know they're not gonna like actually like respond to me, but like what's the best way for like keeping the conversation alive, whatever. And I was like able to just do a voice note versus trying to type all of that. And then also just hearing the voice notes back and like how much excitement you had in your voice, like around different things that I wasn't really paying that much attention to, or like I didn't recognize as being like good things because we're just so focused in doing the work that sometimes I forget, oh, right, this is exciting. I did say I wanted this, and now this is happening. And like, you're right, I should be celebrating. So I think I really liked that structure of it in between our calls.
Mm.
It was very motivating and then also just really helpful. So it wasn't just in our like uh, synchronous communications, but also when the asynchronous response.
Awesome. Last question. What little piece of advice would you give to maybe a fellow consultant who is watching this right now?
Um, Try to get as specific as possible about what it is you want to, what's the impact you want to have,
Mhm.
um, and then figure out what part of that people actually care about from a business perspective and find that translation. That was one of the big things that we worked on was I want to have X, I want to help with human flourishing. It's like, okay, but why the heck would a business care about that? Let's be honest. We live in a capitalist society for now. Maybe we can change it, but we live in a capitalist society, so why would a capitalist business owner care about human flourishing? Like really teasing that stuff out. So I just suggest you that whatever your impact is, this is what I want to do, and then talk about why business cares. There's always a business reason to care about these bigger things. It's easier lines to draw to get to there. But I would just suggest doing that. And Tasha's really good at helping you figure that out through a lot of these programs. Actually, all of them had elements of them that helped you draw that connection of what do I want to do, and then why does the business care about that? So
Amazing. Well, thank you so much, Sasha, for taking the time to share about your experience. It has been such a pleasure working with you. Any last words you want to add?
No, I think we've said it all. But yeah, if you're interested, I suggest you take the plunge and dive into one of the things. All of the stuff that I've seen has been very beneficial. So whatever feels like the right place for you at the time, do it, and that's worth the investment, I think, in terms of having a thought partner and really helping push yourself. But you get into it what you put into it. You get out of it what you put into it. So that's just also important. Because in full disclosure, I did have access to Zero to Launch for a year, and I did not use it until the last 3 months. So I could have gotten way more out of it if I actually used it the full year like I planned to. So
That is
don't do
hilarious.
me. Actually use the full year's time to go through it all.
Well, thank you so much, Sasha, for being here today. And it's been an honor working with you.
Thank you, you too.